flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Hello everybody and welcome into PGR eSports live tonight from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway, the SummerSlam last week. Remember Malik Ray, the winner of that event. So we return to our regularly scheduled programming here tonight with the Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Dawson Wise will not be joining me in the booth here tonight, at least not that we know of. And then, of course, race control, usually split between Kenny Real and Matthew Baker. So that means that our other co-host is down on track. He will be racing here tonight. All right, let's get right into your starting grid. Matthew Baker, who we just mentioned, normally a co-host up here on the booth. He takes the pole, puts down a very good lap. Looks like upper 52s. These cars are definitely flying around the track here tonight. Nathan Harper will roll off from the outside row. He starts in second here tonight. Andrew Navarro back in third with Kenny Brady, the first pro that we have in the field here tonight. Well, not pro, but semi-pro. Certainly one of the greatest super speedway drivers you'll see out here. He rolls off in fourth. Peyton Howell in the 77 machine will roll off back from that fifth position. And Ken McCullough Jr. rounds out row number 3. Moving on back to the 7th position here tonight. It's going to be J.R. Miller with Jeff Merck back in 8th. Larry McDonald in 9th. And Wyatt Gray rounding out your top 10. Freddie Bosnes starts in 11th with Francisco Villarreal back in the 12th spot. Moving on back to row 7. It's going to be Danny Barnes for Hyper Motorsports and Mike Davenport for PGR eSports. Ryan Bay starts in 15th with Richard Elliott in 16th. Ryan Philbrick back in 17th with Nick Seipel in 18th. Cody Ashley 19th and Zach Range rounding out your top 20. Mark Vondell from McCullough Motorsports starts 21st. Jonathan Herbert to his outside in 22nd. It's going to be Brian Hennings back in 23rd with one of the new drivers, Zacharia Cartledge in 24th. Moving on back to 25th, it's Andrew Zonto, Trevor Osmanoff for the Jack Shack to his outside in 26th. Cole Fitzpatrick and Robert Blair make up row 14. Garrett Maines and Michael Guest, 2 Coke Series drivers, round out the top 30. Last week's SummerSlam winner, Malik Ray, will start 31st. John Ellis Jr. in 32nd. Cody Nagels 33rd with Kyler Wynn back in 34th. Dylan Jones 35th. And Alec Martinez in 36th. Don Bafford starts back in the 37th position with Matthew Stallneck back in 38th. Moving on back and rounding out your top 40, it's John Ward and Nash Brambilla. Dane Cruz starts 41st. Noah Rainwater in 42nd. You got Matt Lee for Nightmare Esports in 43rd with Landon Velicki in 44th. Kenny Real 45th. Joshua McCullough in 46th. David Flanagan 47th. And Jared Haynes back in 48th. Field actually continues here with Christopher Carter in 49th. Brock Westerlund in 50th. Mark Math 51st. Adam Young 52nd. Chase Mistretta 53rd. Mark Morton 54th. John Darnell 55th. Tucker McClendon 56th. Brent Morrison 57th. Joey Galati 58th. And Jimmy Emos in 59th. Looking at your race info here tonight. 50 laps going to be the distance. Make it 55, rather 50% fuel. They do have unlimited tires. 1 fast repair in the bank if you need it. Fixed setups as always. And we do have 3 green white checkers as well if they are to be needed. Track temp in the mid-90s, 78 degrees outside, 35% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and winds at 2 miles an hour. They will not be a factor. All right, well, here we go. Time to get back to it. A lot of drivers hungry to see if they can have a better week than last week or try to carry the momentum. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Talladega. First lap is in the books, and it does go to the 5 of Matthew Baker, started on the pole. And one of the things that he was most excited about for tonight is the new paint scheme that he's got on board, the number 5 Coasting Thunder Chevy Camaro. And that is a good-looking color combo right there. He continues to lead the way. Andrew Navarro, one of the Contender Series drivers, he currently sits in second, but already, you're going to see this a lot tonight, moves being made constantly. This is not like what we saw last week in the Xfinity Series. If you want to stay up front, you have to be willing to constantly push. That's the way these next-gen cars are built. And we're going to see a lot of high speeds, a lot of pushing. And another thing that we didn't see a lot of last week, the tandem drafting. Find a partner, somebody that you feel you work best with. Get together, and you would be surprised how fast two of these cars can go when they stay locked up. Again, you can also push in the turns in these next gens, as long as you're, of course, careful and you've got the driver you're trying to push squared up. But by the action that we've already got further back in the pack, 3 wide, and this is all the battle for the late teens to early 20s positions. Ken McCullough Jr. and Garrett Maines trying to get hooked up on the outside as they look to move their way forward. Then Kyler Wynn, he's got a little bit of a new-looking paint scheme here tonight as well. Him and Malik Ray, they're trying to get something worked out. Looks like they're both going to jump up for now. Brian Hennings on the bottom of the racetrack. He's getting a little bit of help right now. Michael Guest, he's up top as well. So the Coke Series drivers, they're going to be looking to go forward, and we'll see if that's any cue or indication for the rest of the field in terms of how aggressive everybody decides to be. But, I mean, only 3 laps complete, and we still have not had as much action up front as we have in the mid-pack on back. They are still trying to get this mess sorted out. They start to narrow it back down to 2x2 right around Cody Nagels, John Ward, Ashburn, Billa, Richard Elliott, Matt Lee, even Ben Bafford. That's another new driver making his first start here tonight. We'll see if he can have a good run in the 24 Dark Horse Ford Mustang. And he's sitting in the back, and right now he might be asking himself, what in the world is going on? I mean, we see super speedway racing a lot, and, officials, the Draft Master Series, but we had almost 60 drivers here tonight. That is a bigger regular field than we have seen in a long time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that many drivers, especially if we can make it to that first round of green flag pit stops. Again, 50% fuel, so you can make it to somewhere right around about 20 laps or so. Again, that's if we don't get a caution, and so that would set us up for probably 2 green flag pit stops with a little bit of strategy coming into play on that second one. Still 3 wide as they work their way off of turn 2 in the mid portions of the pack. That's Larry McDonald on the bottom. Just behind him is the 4 machine. But up front, here we go. This is what these guys were waiting on. That pro train of all Coke Series drivers. Garrett Maines, Malik Ray, and Michael Guest all trying to cruise their way to the front. They got there. The big question was going to be, what would they do with the run? Looks like right now they are content to stay on the top of the racetrack. Will anybody venture to try to hug the yellow line? Again, you're going to have to be pushing if you want to make it work, but the top seems to be favored right now. We do have 2 on the bottom as we start to get further back, trying to make something happen. Trevor Osmanoff, by the way, he sits on the top of the racetrack, and it's Danny Barnes who currently leads that inside line. He's getting a push from Ryan Baste, and now we'll see those 3 Coke Series drivers tandem all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack. Garrett Maines, Malik Ray, they're hooked up. Does Matthew Baker look for a block? No, he doesn't. He'll stay up, but now he's going to bring that 5 machine down to the middle lane to try to get a side draft. That's the power of what you can do if you're up top. As long as you've got 3 guys connected and you go down to side draft, it's really, really hard for that inside line to make a pass. However, Malik line Garrett up there at the perfect spot in the corner, middle of 3 and 4. Will it be enough to get Garrett clear? He's trying to shove him off of 4. Looks like it is. The 12 will go to the point as they work their way into the trial, and they are now 3 wide throughout the entirety of the pack. Trevor Osmanoff leads the top line. Matthew Baker leads the middle, and Garrett Maines currently leads the bottom. A little bit of a different pusher, though, up top now for Trevor Osmanoff. That's the 29 machine of Francisco Villarreal. Oh, and caution is out for the first time here tonight. Maybe trouble further back. Yes, indeed. Nathan Harper in the 4 car has gone around. Looked like trouble with one other driver, and that's Richard Elliott. A couple cars will scatter through the grass, but that's just to avoid any late contact here, so they should be okay. But, oh, man, first incident of the night, and, oh, Richard Elliott actually has to tow. Wow, I wonder if he had more damage than what it initially looked like right here. That's a tough way to start things, and looks like from this, there may have been more drivers involved in this than what we initially captured on our cameras here. Let's see where this starts. Ooh, it starts right towards the tail end, middle portion, tail end of the lead pack. I can't tell exactly who that is here. We'll see if we can get a better view. Was it? No, it was further up. It's going to be right there. That's the 54, and then I can't see who that is on the inside just yet. Again, you know, we talked about the big field here tonight. We've also got a lot of new drivers, but looks like it starts right around John Ellis Jr. in the 21 car. Of course, he's no new driver, veteran to the series, but here we go. Something happens here. It's either a stack. I think it's a stack up. All right, so watch here. And it's just going to be the 21 has to check up for the 24, and then the 9 just can't quite get on the brakes quick enough. He tags John Ellis Jr. in the right rear, and then that's going to send this 21 car down the racetrack. The 54 up top, trying to avoid the incident after some contact. He gets up into the wall, collects. Again, can't tell who that was from this view, but does John Ellis Jr. hang on to it down here? Yes, he does. And so by him holding on, that tells me that, oh man, that was a big hit right there toward the end of that. Just as we thought everybody saved it down here. Harper hit a jump. That's what happened. Look at this for Nathan Harper. He hits a massive, I don't know if you want to call it a divot or a pothole or something in between here on the apron, and it's just going to absolutely send this car flying right here. Trying to see if we can find a good view of it. I don't even know if he was able to make it back to the pits with the damage he probably sustained from this. Watch Harper. This car's going to hit the grass, and right there it hits a jump, and so he can't steer or get on the brakes, goes back up the racetrack, collects Richard Elliott. So that's how he got involved. But then the real question was, what happened with all the contact out back that we saw with the 54 and multiple others here? Alec Martinez. Let's back that up again and take another view and see if we can figure out what happened to Alec through this. So watch as he gets in the wall here, and it kind of becomes a traffic jam, if you will, on the top of the racetrack there. Like, might have been Mark Vondel in the 59. He ends up having not really anywhere to go. And then Ken McCullough Jr., so that might have been two of the McCullough Motorsports cars there. Not sure if that's Mark Vondel's 59 or another driver sharing the same number. Looks like the 62 of Veliky and Tucker McClendon as well. They fly in late into the picture there. So not a whole lot of damage through this wreck for a couple drivers for sure, but I mean, overall, a lot of guys going to get out relatively unscathed. You do have that one fast repair in your pocket if you need it, but I mean, that certainly could have been a whole lot worse than it was, especially from what it looked like when it first started here. There's that contact. Ken McCullough Jr. we talked about had absolutely nowhere to go. And then to kind of give you another view of that first incident, or the incident that happened further up involving Nathan Harper and Richard Elliott. Watch from the onboard view. I mean, this is a wild looking shot here, especially as he catches airtime going over a jump. Just can't slow down, and Richard Elliott, I mean, he had nowhere to go either, and then once they slide down, man, almost a secondary collision right there, but they both do a good job to miss it, and so they will continue on their way. Looks like Richard Elliott, though, again, who did have to tow, not sure, didn't look like he got major damage from any of the hits or the angles that he took into the wall, but again, he towed that car, so clearly indicative of some more serious issue that maybe we're not aware about, but nonetheless, 9 laps complete. And as we turn our attention back to the front of the field, it is Matt Lee who is being scored as your leader, but looks like he's going to drive it down the pits right here. So that'll turn it over to Andrew Navarro. And then Matthew Baker currently sits second. How about Peyton Howell in the 77? He's already up a couple spots from where he started this race at. He currently sits in that 3rd position. Then you've got J.R. Miller for PGR eSports back in 4th. And Trevor Osranoth rounding out your top 5. Well, we do want to mention it here while we got a chance. Did get a new microphone since the SummerSlam. Felt like things sounded a little bit too mumbled, so please do let me know how it sounds. If you think it's better or worse, if you'd rather me just use the old mic, that's okay too. But please do let me know if you're watching how everything sounds together. Race audio along with mic audio. And hey, how about it? 47 viewers right now. Certainly appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Hope you are enjoying your Thursday late evening. It's going to be approaching morning pretty soon, at least here on the East Coast. Currently 11:09. Did get off to a little bit of a late start here, as they did have to create a new session. Again, way more drivers than what was initially expected. That's kind of what led to that brief delay. But, I mean, so far, again, you got to give a tip of the hat to all these drivers. The racing has been phenomenal, at least up to this point. I have not seen really about anybody that's been, majorly out of line. We did have that incident right out of the gate. Not right out of the gate, but, 10 laps in here. But that's just everybody getting a feel for things. That was a brief checkup. That's going to happen with these big fields, and they'll make the adjustments, and we'll get back to it. By the way, we do have some driver cams here tonight that we will be going through at different points. quite a few of them, and some new drivers that we have hopping on the driver cams. We always like to see it. So again, we'll get to some of those once we get back going green. And by the way, if you are just tuning in for the first time here tonight and you missed the SummerSlam last week, boy, make sure you go try to check out some of the highlights or something in between, because I'm telling you what, that was one heck of a race between the prelims, the LCQ, and then the main event where, again, we saw Malik Ray go home a winner, but that last lap and the finish, the photo finish between Andrew Navarro and Malik Ray is what's got everybody so excited for what's going to happen here tonight. And again, the payouts were based off of 45 drivers. We had almost 15 over that. So you can expect those payouts to be a little bit higher. That means there is more that these drivers are going to be fighting for at the end of this race. All right, here we go. Pace car makes the turn back to the pits for the second time here tonight. Going to be 11 laps complete when they cross the stripe. Garrett Maines back out in front with Andrew Navarro and Matthew Baker, rather. Green flag is back in the air. And it looks like it's a great jump for Andrew Navarro on the 42 machine. 77 of Peyton Howell got a pretty good start as well. Baker got a little bit, I don't know if you want to call it caught sleeping, caught lacking, but just didn't quite get the restart he needed to. And that allowed that third lane to get developed really, really quick. This is going to get interesting here off of turn 2, because now up top leading the charge looks like, is that John Ward, the Hyper Motorsports captain? Yes, it was, but Matthew Baker throws a block. He saw the middle starting to disintegrate, tried to make the move up top, and he made it work, but oh, we got one in the wall further back. Boy, that was a really close call. That was a 29 machine of Kyler Wynn. Boy, that could have been absolutely disastrous, but a nice job. I think it might have been Jonathan Herbert that he got into. He'll now jump in line behind the 87, and they continue to dice it out 3 by 3. Meanwhile, up front, Navarro still on point as he has the 77 and the 89 running just behind him. Here comes the bottom lane again, the 4 of Freddie Bosnez. We saw how good he was in the Xfinity cars. Now he's looking to flex some muscle here in the Cup Series. Oh, big block, Matthew Baker. What a move there. Cody Nagels had a huge run off the push from Malik Ray. He tried to take it to the inside. Malik didn't follow, and that allowed Baker to throw a block. And look at this. They are almost 4 wide as they work their way down the Alabama gang backstretch. Oh, my goodness. This is where you start to hold your breath. We're only 12 laps in. I know they have a faster pair, fellas, but this is not going to work. They're starting to squeeze down really tight on that middle and inside line through 3 and 4. John Ward trying to get the top working again. They're going to migrate up. Trevor Ozanoff had to make a little bit of a late block, but he's able to cover the 92. He'll jump down to the middle. Now Malik Ray is going to set up for a push on Garrett Maines on the bottom. How about this? Looking for his first lap led tonight. Not going to get it, but Michael Guest does take the point in the middle. Navarro still leads the top. And how about Kyler Wynn? Boy, where did he come from in the last 2 laps? The 29, just a few laps ago, looked like almost potentially caused what was going to be a caution, was able to hold on to it. And next thing you know, here he is right at the front of the field. That's one of the Canadian drivers, by the way. Usually don't see too many, but Kyler Wynn, one of the best in the series. Podium 500 champ from 2024, and looking to see if he can continue to make his mark here in the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Kenny Brady, he's now made his way to the front as well. A lot of the guys that, I would say you typically expect. Matthew Stallneck, he's made his way up here as well now. But how about Zach Range? Oh, caution's going to be out. Oh, we got one sliding here through the pits. That's the 12, and more trouble further back. Cole Fitzpatrick, Mark Von Dell, and multiple others going to get involved here. Cody Atchley was the car that we saw slide through the pits, and that's pretty heavy damage on the left front, especially the hood. So, yeah, he must have made contact with that inside wall, kind of on the transition there, that wall that rounds into the pits. So this is the first driver that we have info was potentially involved in this wreck, but it's certainly not the only one here now. Granted, I'm not sure how much damage anybody else got. The 59 of Mark Von Dell, you see him still rolling. He was in that last wreck, and I don't see any damage here on the 59, so this may have actually been from that last wreck. Yeah, no, it was Mark Math who got collected in this one here. Let's see how bad the damage is for the 199. Again, from this view, doesn't look too bad. I mean, I don't know if I see where the damage is located on that car. So I would have to think that he's not due for a fast repair, but Francisco Villarreal, he might be here as he was also involved. Let's see what happens here. We're going to start first with the chop review. This should give us a pretty good indication of where things got started. So they get, looks like they're going to get just about 4 wide right here. Is that what happens? Boy, yes, it is. And Peyton Howell, man, that's a huge save for Howell. It ends up transitioning to a wreck out back here, but I mean, that's the 29, by the way, of Francisco Villarreal. But watch this. There's going to be a checkup in front of him here as the 77 of Peyton Howell has a run, and then he sees the 74. Brian Hennings touched the wall, so he just briefly checks up. And similar to what we saw in that first wreck, those stack-ups, they are brutal. And in this case, for the 29, just not going to be anywhere to go when he gets ran into out back from the 18. And we'll actually see if we can go to the far chase view here. The 18, by the way, that was Wyatt Gray, another driver who we saw with a great run during the SummerSlam weekend. But here you go. So watch the checkup. 77 dives low. He does a phenomenal job of making this thing a whole lot less than what it initially looked like it was going to be. But then once Francisco Villarreal gets turned around, he gets turned down into the pack, and he collects Brock Westmoreland and Mark Math right out of the gate once he spins. And then saw the 12 had nowhere to go. That's actually where Cody actually gets that front end damage, and then he goes for the slide here down the pits. So, boy, that's a big hit for Westmoreland, too. You see the front end of that race car completely ripped off. Go back and give you another view of it here, and watch. We're going to try to zoom in here on the 4 of Brock Westmoreland, because he certainly he might have been the worst, kind of got the worst end of the stick out of this. Is again, watch this hit. Nathan Harper, boy, he was lucky. Just misses that, but then once that 29 comes down, it's just going to be who in the pack he collects. And that's the 4 Westmoreland. He definitely gets the worst of it. Mark Math takes a pretty good shot, and then the 12 of Cody Ashley, the other driver with pretty significant contact, Francisco Villarreal. Couldn't tell if he kept it off the inside wall from that angle here. Let's see from TV2. Looks like after the slide, he locks it down. Ooh, no, not quite able to. That's a pretty big shot with the left front. He could have to worry about some suspension damage there. As you know, these next gens, a lot of people describe them as tanks, but at the same time, the suspension fragile, or the most fragile of any series that we race in. So again, it's a really tough break right there for Francisco Villarreal. See if he's able to continue. I believe he does still have his fast repair. And I do want to give you one more angle of this here from turn 4 exit. And I know that view didn't do it as much justice, so see if we can get potentially one more angle here from TV1. And it's 2 stack-up wrecks. That's what we've seen so far. And again, I think it's just a product of these giant fields that we have seen so far here tonight. And so, you know, it certainly wasn't the first, and quite frankly, I don't think it's going to be the last, at least at the rate we're going. But a nice job by a lot of these drivers to miss that. Nathan Harper, by the way, was on the bad end of the stick in that first wreck when he got airtime and just couldn't quite hold on and went back up the track. Boy, he got really lucky on this one. I mean, he just narrowly, and I mean narrowly, missed the spinning 29 of Francisco Villarreal. Watch this. Man, and he is probably thinking, I am glad that I was not a lane lower at that point, or things could have certainly been a whole lot worse. But as we go back live to the front of the field, lights are off on the pace car, so that means we did get the 1-to-go signal. We're getting ready to go back racing. John Ward leads the way. The Hyper Motorsports captain finds himself up 37 positions from where he started this race at. Malik Ray back in second. Matthew Baker in third. Kyler Wynn in fourth with Andrew Navarro in fifth. Garrett Maines back in sixth with Michael Guest in seventh. Peyton Howell eighth. Trevor Osronoff ninth. And Kenny Brady currently rounds out your top 10. And again, by the way, didn't mention this at the start, but there is a bonus on the line here tonight, sponsored by Coasting Thunder. Matthew Baker put up the bonus. It's $50 to a driver that can win this race that did not qualify. And I think that was him trying to prove the point to really everybody racing tonight that with these next gens, it's still, track position is always important. That doesn't matter what series we're in, but it's not as much about track position as it is in some of the other series, say the trucks and the Xfinity cars. Again, you can get to the front, I don't want to say easily, but relatively quick if you're lined up with the right guys and you know how to push in these cars. Tandem is very effective. You can make, you know, probably 5 to 10 miles an hour more of anybody else in the field if you've got the right duo linked up. So far, so good, but we've still got a long ways to go in this 55-lap race, and at this point, we could still see at least one green flag stop. Figure 20 laps would take these drivers to about lap 36, and then they should be able to make it from there. So might be a little bit of a close one stop. Maybe you save a little bit of fuel here if you're towards the middle or back portions of this pack, but overall, I think everybody's going to be able to make it here on just one stop without having to save too hard. But we'll have to find out as the pace car is going to make the left turn. We get ready to go back to green, and there's one of our driver cams, Jared Haynes, as he's ready to go as well. But Malik Ray, John Ward now lead the field back into the Geico restart zone. Malik Ray looking to make it back-to-back wins 2 weeks in a row after, of course, capturing the SummerSlam belt. And here we go. Green flag is back in the air, and through the gears we're going to go yet again. Ooh, good start from John Ward. Maybe a little bit too good, because here comes Malik Ray, and the help is going to be on the outside first. Matthew Baker trying to get to the back bumper of John Ward, but Malik was able to get the push first. He'll get clear, but it's not going to take the bottom. Again, that top lane is the preferred lane to be in, especially at this point in the race. You're not trying to make anything too crazy happen. You're just trying to maintain the lead. And I'll tell you what, Malik would like to see a lot more guys try to shuffle up and just kind of ride in line on the top. But right now, that's not what they're going to do. They are going to try to see if they can get some more momentum going. And Baker is pushing for all he is worth on the bottom here. He might have a chance to get John Ward clear here through 3 and 4. Nope, not quite going to do it. There's the onboard view right now for Matthew Baker, and you can see just how much pushing he has to do now. The other thing that becomes an issue with these cars when you're doing this much pushing is those engine temps, where they can get hot in a hurry, and it can catch you off guard. You can't risk blowing a motor, especially when you're running the pack. So you do as much pushing as you can, but eventually once you have to cool the engine, that's when we usually start to see one lane prevail. They're 2x2 for the first 4 rows. Then it single files out for a little bit, and then we have a bit of a breakaway from that lead pack to this second group, which is single file, and then almost like a third group that's starting to form here. And the problem for them is they've got all sorts of chaos going on. They were 3 wide there through 1 and 2, but it looks like now they're going to start to simmer it back down as they get back to 2x2. And I mean, they still need to get potentially 2x2 or even single file pretty quickly here, or else they could be in danger of potentially losing the leaders. But now they start to get racy again up front. Malik Ray jumped to the bottom, maybe to let Kyler Wynn cool his temps just a little bit. Michael Guest is going to move down to the middle to try to side draft, and that allows Matthew Baker to jump up. Peyton Howell in the 77, he currently leads that top groove. Let's see if he can get a push to the 5 of Matthew Baker. Navarro's going to go up 2. Man, this is going to set up this top lane for a huge run. I was going to say, you're going to start to see him jumping up, because if not, there's going to be a run that they're not going to be able to block. And uh-oh, what happened here to Malik Ray? Not sure if John Ward just decided to abandon ship or if Malik decided he wanted to fade a little bit, but he jumped down below the yellow line coming off a 2, and he faded all the way back to that 45 machine of Michael Guest. And I should note that for what it's worth, these drivers, they're having fun in these cars. I mean, I wouldn't even be shocked if some of them decide to, maybe jump to the back just to kind of get a feel of what they can do, how quick they can go to the front. But, I mean, right now, this front pack, they have certainly created a breakaway and a pretty good gap at that. The second group right now is being led by Freddie Bosnez, and he sits just over a second back, so he's still within drafting range. But with these next gens, if you stop pushing even for just a moment and you're not, maybe car length or 2 off the back bumper of the car in front of you, you will start to fade from that draft. So these two have to continue to stay locked up, and I think they're going to get the job done. As again, Malik just going to jump below the yellow. Not sure what's going on for the 7, but nonetheless, the 4 car, Freddie Bosnez, great job, and he's going to give a tip of the hat to his pusher, Chase Mastretta, in the 38, because he stayed locked up long enough to get him to the back bumper of Malik Ray. And now that they've made it back, they've got to run, and they are taking it to the inside of the racetrack. Third group that's formed, they're now going to try to get organized, see if they can do the same thing, being led by Christopher Carter right now. Or excuse me, it's like John Ellis Jr., maybe Christopher Carter up there as well, but they're about 1.2 seconds back. So again, they are still technically in the draft for now, but if they make any mistakes here, they are going to be in danger of losing the leaders, and if that happens, can be a race ender. And man, you see the 41 blinking just in front. That's Matthew Stallneck. Dylan Jones likes pushing that 41, but he's not liking what he sees when that 41 starts to blink in and out. He's not sure when he can push him or if he's going to randomly spawn back and maybe accidentally spin him around. Back up front we go. 21 of 55 laps now complete. Still not at the halfway point just yet. Oh, we got one in the wall up top. I think that's the 1 machine of Kenny Brady. Yes, it was. Just a little bit of a scrape there on the right side of his Toyota Camry. No harm, no foul. And so he'll regroup, stay up top. The 05, by the way, starting to make some progress through the field now as well. That's Joshua McCullough. Matt Lee there as well. We have got a lot of drivers that have been up to the front, to the back, anywhere in between so far, and they just continue to dice it up more and more here as we continue to tick off laps at Talladega Superspeedway. I do want to see if we can get to a couple of the driver cams that we have here tonight. Now, we touched on Jared Haynes right off the start, but how about the man who's closest to the front right now of all of our driver cams, and that is Matthew Baker. Boy, he has got his hands full. He's doing a lot of pushing. He's also getting pushed quite a bit, but right now, as it stands, he currently sits in 5th place. Remember, qualified on the pole, and he's pretty much stayed in the top 5 since, so got a great run going, and again, felt very confident with his chances and the new paint scheme that he's got on board here tonight. So we'll see what he can do. I'm not sure if he's competing to get his own $50 back or not, but nonetheless, we'll find out as go back on track and do ignore the brief stuttering there. Hopefully things can get straightened out pretty quick. Brief little server interruption, if you will. But look at this. I mean, the pack's getting reorganized really quickly. And boy, Trevor Oswanoth out back. He tried to make a little bit of a cover move on Kenny Brady, and Brady split him in the middle. The problem is, the middle is not as good in these cars as it is in every other one. So Kenny Brady, that's going to be a learning lesson right there. He's going to go all the way to the back of this group until he can find a spot in line. Well, maybe not. Looks like the 11 here, Kenny Real, he's going to take a shot and try to jump up to the middle as well. See how well that works out for the usual race control. But tonight, acting as, of course, a driver. And, oh, caution is out. Trouble further back again. This isn't one of those second packs, I believe. Actually, not sure exactly where this one occurred. Brett Morrison. Well, there's big damage for somebody on the back here. Question is, who was it here? We're still not getting any data on exactly who took... Well, never mind. That answers that question. Mark Morton in the U.S. Army colors. Man, that 96 machine is destroyed. The right front is about a 45-degree angle facing the infield, so that'll be his fast repair used up once he goes into pit. Let's see what happens here. He's running on the backstretch. Looks like relatively all by himself. Well, looks like the race car had already fallen apart at that point, so there was earlier contact, and looks like it's going to be with the 22 here. So again, this was not one of the lead groups. This was one of those second groups, and this is Adam Young. He's going to make contact where this... Couldn't tell from that angle if there was a brief checkup or what exactly happened, but man, that's a huge hit for the 22. As he kind of wedges the 96 into the wall. That's how he gets so much damage right here. But was it just a checkup and then the 96 of Mark Morton just trying to react? I think that's what it was here. Watch the stack up. Right there, Morton sees it, and then it's a bigger checkup than he's expecting, and he tries to jump to the outside, but just doesn't quite get as far out as he needs to, and just barely clips Young in the right rear, but just no chance for Young to save it. And like I said, it wedges both the 22 and the 96 pretty much, not quite, but almost dead right into that outside safer barrier. Let's watch it from the onboard view here. See what's going on. Watch this hit. Yeah, it's just... but again, I mean, I know some people are going to say he hooked him, which, you know, technically he did, but I have to believe that's just another product of the checkups. That's the third wreck that we've seen kind of stem from a big checkup right there, and then... Look at this. Boom. There's the hit for the 96 that destroys the right front, and... Lucky that nobody else was involved, and again, this did happen in one of the smaller groups, so that may be, of course, part of the reason, but... Going to be a fast repair definitely for Mark Morton, potentially for Adam Young as well. So we'll take a couple more angles of this one here. How about from the backstretch view? Does this... I think this might show this hit pretty well, as you saw the front bumper cover flying off. There's that big hit, and again, you know, everybody scrambles to go to the inside here, and it's kind of lucky that it did stay in the outside wall. A lot of times that hit will bounce the 22 back down the racetrack, and boy, that was a really close call. Look at Danny Barnes in the 7. Oh, I didn't even see that in the first couple shots, but his front bumper got clipped off there when he just barely got hooked, and then kind of as a byproduct of that, turned that car right into the fence, so he took quite a bit of damage as well. So boy, a lot of cars with major trouble from this incident. And it's going to be, I don't think we'll have anyone retire from this wreck just yet, but we continue to go down the list of drivers that have already had to use their fast repair, and I think we're just about at the halfway mark if we haven't just passed it by now, but certainly another pretty decent incident here with 25 officially completed. So again, still a couple laps from halfway. And it is John Ward, by the way, being scored as your leader. John Darnell in second, Kyler Wynn in third. And then you've got Ryan Bass back in fourth with Matthew Baker in fifth. Freddie Bosnez in 6th with Garrett Maines in 7th. Chase Mastretta 8th. Trevor Oswanoth in 9th. And Joshua McCullough currently rounding out your top 10. Well, you still can't make it on fuel from here, so it is still a one-stop, but makes that strategy maybe a little bit more set in stone, if you will. Drivers won't have to worry quite as much about what the fuel strategy is looking like. But as we do have, looks like a couple drivers decide to come in and top off, gives us a chance to look at a couple others of our driver cams here tonight. Trevor Oswanoth, one of the fan favorites for the Jack Shack, carrying on board for the 89. Now, he did switch to Toyota in the Xfinity cars. Surprised that he didn't in the Cup Series, because the paint scheme he was rocking for the SummerSlam was one of the best paint schemes I've seen on any Supra in a while. The dedication to, of course, Paul Walker with the Fast and Furious Supra scheme. So shout out to Trevor Oswanoth. We appreciate him, of course, carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. Go back in the field a little bit further. Again, everybody's still working to try to get closer to the front, but, I mean, I'm looking to Francisco Villarreal, who had that trouble earlier. You know, what can he do? Can he make a comeback in this one? Nick Seipel, back in 37th. We saw him at the SummerSlam. See if he can start to fight his way back. And then Noah Rainwater, another one of the drivers who's making their debut here tonight. And Noah, the driver out of Lincolnton. You see where he lines up. Right now, he has not gained or lost any positions from where he started. Currently sits back in that 41st position, so he's still got a lot of work to do, but he still has plenty of time to try to make something happen. Well, again, if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. I hope that you are having a good Thursday night so far. And if you haven't yet, make sure that you do give PGR Esports a follow. Certainly helps us out. And if you like what you're watching here tonight, don't forget to give the stream a like as well. Again, and you know what? I should note that if you're interested in joining, again, you can always check out the PGR Esports races by going to the Discord or the website, which we have linked both of those in the description. These races do happen every single Thursday night, and the next big event scheduled to come up for PGR is going to be the PGR 500, which will take place in February. And if you thought the SummerSlam was big, boy, do you have something to look forward. That event is going to be a spectacle to see, and I know Dawson Wise will be, of course, returning. We're excited to have him back, and didn't get him here tonight, but we do see him occasionally on Thursdays, so if you want to stop by, you never know who you're going to get. Could be myself and Matthew Baker, could be myself and Dawson Wise, or even all three, but here we go, getting ready to go back green. It'll be 27 laps complete, and so we are just one away from being officially over the halfway point after we take the green. Green flag is back in the air, 27 laps complete. Kyler Wynn off to the races. This is going to be the first time he leads a restart, and he got a pretty good jump, but Ryan Bass did a decent job of matching that 29, and as they roll through turn one and climb the banking, it is going to be Kyler Wynn, who looks full away to a lead. Oh, trouble further back there. We saw one dive onto the apron, it looked like. Looks like everybody is going to actually hold it together right here. And so there was a couple of close calls. I thought back here by John Darnell. Towards the back of the group, Jimmy Emos and Brett Morrison, we'd see a car trying to merge back on the racetrack, but it seems like that's not the case, so what the deal was. Good save overall. Matthew Baker and Garrett Main's powering on the inside, but Kyler Wynn's going to cover it with a block. And now that'll open up to Ryan Bass on the top piece, getting a push from the 4 of Freddie Bosnez. The 05 up there as well, Joshua McCullough. Oh, one turn, hard hit into the outside wall. This could be the big one here. Caution is out as the 38 took a big hit, and boy, they are scattering everywhere. And bear with me there as you see all the cars bugging out. I think that's how big of a wreck this one was. The PC's trying to render it all and just can't seem to do it. Again, 60 drivers, 20 more than what we're used to seeing in a normal-sized field, so apologies for that, but it's 24. Heavy front-end damage. That's Ryan Philbrick. Front end of that race car's ripped off, and then even further ahead, we had even more drivers with major damage. Not sure. Well, let's see here if we can go back and look at it and maybe pick out everybody that got involved in this. There was quite a few big hits, but the real question is, I mean, the 38 got turned, but I'm not sure what started this. We just took the restart, so it seems like maybe a little bit of a high aggression level at this point, but well, did the caution come out? Oh, for sure it did here. Yes, it did. The reason I was double checking here is because the data we have was not wanting to show the initial hit here. So let's go back to Chase Mastretta and watch what happens here off of turn 4. He's getting a push from the 34. Let's see here. Go first to the far chase view. See if we can. That's David Flanagan. But then if we go to TV3 here, kind of change this to the chopper view. And I know you see again all the cars glitching out there. Again, do apologize for that, but question is what happens here for the 38? What gets him turned out of line right here? Let's see if the zoomed in view shows any better. Oh, he's getting pushed by Flanagan, and just they kind of get offset of each other, and as they try to realign, Flanagan's there, and so instead of being able to slide behind him, he just kind of hooks him in the right rear as the 38 tries to get back up in line. So, man. And then just from there on, you see the amount of drivers that are just piling in here. That was a big hit for the 38. And again, I know it's going to be a little tough to see here as PC did start to panic out just a little bit. But we can actually move this up a little bit here and see some of the other hits that happened in front of this, as there was some big hits for multiple drivers. Once you spin around like that in the middle of the pack, you know it's going to collect quite a few. And oh man, poor Brock Westmoreland, I saw him get involved in this one as well. After being involved in that last wreck here. He tries to get through it, but the damage was already done. And then further out back, JR Miller, he goes through the grass. Multiple others. Looks like, actually, I think JR may have come to a halt here. Yes, he did. So maybe not as many drivers with potentially fast spare damage as we initially thought, but that's still a big wreck that collects quite a few of them here. As there's JR trying to sneak through, and then Cody Nagels, he has nowhere to go. The 77 of Peyton Howell, he got turned up into the outside safer barrier. He took a pretty big shot. I think that was Michael Triscaro potentially as well. In the 34 prime colors, thought I saw. May have taken a hit here. Let's back that up a little bit again. Which here is... Actually, let's see if we can hop on board here for this wreck. And we'll go on board with Landon Velicky, as he was one of the drivers involved. Watch what happens here. I said we'd go on board, but I have a feeling that would not be a good idea with the amount of smoke. John Ward, that you see, he gets a little bit of damage as well. And then right at the end, I think that's Richard Elliott. He's trying to put on the brakes, but just a little bit too late. And so he unfortunately got some damage as well. All right, well, as we go back to the front of the field, we'll see if we get the one-to-go signal. I think we should. Kyler Wynn being scored as your leader. Ryan Bass second. Matthew Baker back at third with Freddie Bosnez in fourth. And Trevor Osranoff rounding out your top five. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll go side by side. We'll be right back for the restart. Stick with us at Talladega.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We won't run! We won't run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got paddles.
The monkey is prime!
This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Here we go, 30 laps complete now, officially over halfway, but not quite in the fuel window, at least not yet. Rolling back into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back to the air, and it's a great jump this time from the 29 of Kyler Wynn. Him and Ryan Bass almost pull clear of Matthew Baker. The 73 won't quite get there, but it looks like the 29 indeed does as they climb the banking into turn one. Here comes the outside line, starting to roll really good momentum now. Matthew Baker getting a push from Freddie Bosnez. Now Trevor Osranoff, he's going to try to cover high. Matt Lee looked like he was trying to see if he could split that 89, but couldn't quite make it happen. And I don't know if he's not happy with Trevor or what, but they cannot seem to get squared away, at least not yet. And that could cause some havoc here. They got to be careful. Now the 29, Kyler Wynn, he's going to move up the racetrack. And I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. 25 to go before things get too out of hand. We're going to try to fix the brief issue we have, so we'll be right back here. Stick with us. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. 23 laps to go. And of course, as soon as we, took the break to try to fix the issues, of course, they did have a caution. Look for an incident that I believe started with John Ellis Jr. Granted, when we have to leave the session to try to rejoin and make this server better, we can't go back and look. However, from the info that we can see here, I mean, just in general, looking on the track here, a lot of drivers pitting, not necessarily just for that, but mainly because we're getting closer and closer to that fuel window where drivers can make it the rest of the way without having to pit again. 23 to go. We'll probably go green with, I'd say, about 21 laps to go. So we'll see how things pan out. But again, do apologize for the issues. I do want to make one more note on this and then hopefully don't have to bring it up the rest of the broadcast. I know we had issues with the SummerSlam, so I'm working on the best I can. The PC I have was the same PC that I got when I started. It's not an expensive one by any means, so if anybody knows a producer that we can maybe start to talk to that has something that can handle this, by all means, but doing the best I can with what I got. So appreciate everybody bearing with it. I'm continuing to work through what I can do to make it better, but again, apologize for that issue. So John Ward currently being scored as your leader. Cody Atchley in second. Ben Bafford back in third. What a run for Bafford right now. Alec Martinez in fourth. He's up 32 positions from where he started as well. Zach Range running at your top five. Freddie Basnez back in sixth with Garrett Main seventh. Kyler Wynn in eighth. Sacharia Cartledge making up quite a few positions. Up 15 from the initial starting position. Matt Lee in ninth. And rounding out your top 10, I meant to say Malik Ray just outside. Andrew Zonto, he's in 12th. Nick Seipel, 13th. Ryan Bass, 14th. And Trevor Osronoff right now sits in 15th. So with 21 to go, again, we talked about fuel mileage being interesting, but this is still a tough call as a driver because, in reality, you're kind of expecting to see at least one more caution, and we're probably going to see a lot more than that. So, you don't want to, I don't want to say you want to be conservative, because if you do, you sit back, that's where you start to get yourself caught in trouble. We get a lot of cautions and you just run out of laps to get back to the front. But then kind of at the same time, you want to sit back and make sure that you're good to go on fuel. That way, if somehow this thing does go green, you're in a good position to make it if a lot of the leaders aren't. See how it decides to pan out, but I mean, I think if you're John, you know what, not just John Ward, if you're anybody in this top 10, you can't worry about fuel, I don't think. You can save a little bit, of course, just simply running in the draft, but we'll have to see here. Because, I mean, if you're Malik Ray, that's the cutoff for that 10th position. Andrew Zonto on back. That's where you get to that point in the pack where it's a lot easier to save fuel because you've got quite a few cars behind you and in front of you on the sides. You're running in the main part of the draft, so it just becomes a lot easier to save fuel, among other things. By the way, saw the prime colored car earlier that we thought was involved in one of the wrecks. I initially said Michael Triscaro because that's the only car that we're used to seeing with the prime colors, but nonetheless here, what we've got, that's actually the 25 of Andrew Zonto. By the way, of course, talked about making a return here tonight, and don't forget, Andrew Zonto races on a controller. He doesn't use the steering wheel and pedals like everybody else, so the fact that he's, even able to run at these super speedways as good as he does is already impressive enough in of itself. All right, here we go. Getting down to crunch time and getting down to potentially a fuel strategy race, as it will be 21 laps to go. Field back in the hands now of John Ward as the pace car rolls off. He'll roll into the Geico restart zone. Looking for the green flag. Here we go. Green flag is back in the air, and it's a good restart this time for John Ward. He's going to look to see if he can clear up, jump to the top of the racetrack. Yes, he will, but he's got to be careful here. The 12 of Cody Atchley is going to have a phenomenal run. What's he going to do with it? Oh, he looks to the inside. Yes, he will make it work. That's going to bring back some momentum on this inside, as now they are already 3 wide. The 54, Alec Martinez, he chose the middle. John Ward stuck up top with Bosnez. Kyler Wynn and Malik Ray, big push, and now as they go side by side down the back, which lane is going to have the momentum? The 23 trying to make something happen. That's Ben Bafford again. First time that he's been this high up in the field so far here tonight, and boy, he is making the most of it. As now caution is out for trouble further back in the field again here. Seems like that is where most of the trouble has been so far here tonight, and this one, not sure who it collected, at least not yet. Got a couple cars that dropped down to the apron. We'll get a better idea once we switch to replay here. All right, let's see here. And again, this caution happened somewhere in the back portions of the field, at least from what we can get data-wise. Here's what we'll do. We'll go to the turn 3 cam, and this should give it a good indication of where that caution started. And then, oh, well, that was not nearly at the back. That was actually really, really close to the front. Starts with Michael Guest, and I do wonder here, and we'll actually, this may have been an admin thrown caution if he didn't come back down the racetrack. And, you know, I know we couldn't see it from there. We'll get a better angle here of one that we can, but Michael Guest was certainly the first car that we at least saw out of shape, if you will. Now, granted, how much damage he got, that's a different question, but couldn't tell who it was that he actually made contact with here. There's the 45. He's okay there. So let's see here. Back it up. Watch the 45. He's running just in front of the 74 of Brian Hennings at this point. But then as they get into turn 3, something goes wrong. Oh, there's a checkup on the outside. And, oh, that's just two drivers going for the same piece of real estate at the same moment. There's a checkup on the outside. That's why Guest is going to shoot the middle. And then Brady's just got a huge run, so he wants to take the middle. And almost coordinated. Actually, there was a checkup on the bottom as well. But, yeah, that's what happened there is they both went for the same piece of real estate. Contact was made, and that sent the 45 out of shape. He gets up into Ken McCullough Jr., takes a pretty big shot. And actually, they both save it. So, indeed, what it was an admin thrown caution. You know, you see something like that happen as, you know, an admin, and you're immediately thinking this is going to be huge. So, I can't fault the caution on that one. I think it was a good call to throw the caution, but that would indeed be why we saw one. And look at this. I mean, Guest, the fact that he almost held on to this initially is incredible, but then he's, you know, still able to do a pretty good save. And, boy, Ken McCullough Jr. has just had a rough night. That's going to be his second big wreck, and he doesn't have his fast repair still, so any damage that he got from that, he's going to have to fix optionally. And I think any competitive chance of winning this race, at least for that 03 machine, might have come to an end with this contact here. Let's hop to an onboard view for Ken McCullough Jr. This should show you everything you need to see. Because, man, nothing he could do. He was stuck on the third lane. Probably didn't even know what was kind of that blindside hit where you don't really expect it. You don't see it coming, of course, and next thing you know. But I'll tell you what, for Michael Guest, and I mean, this even goes for Kenny Brady. We talked about it's just two drivers that were fighting for the same piece of real estate at the exact same time, and that's not even a disagreement between the two. That is literally just, you know, at the exact same moment. They both try to go up to the middle, and unfortunately, there's only room for one car there. Two tried to squeeze in, and it did not work out. But this is the onboard view now for Michael Guest. And watch here, as you're going to see him jump down, and at the same time, you'll see Kenny Brady try to jump up. And then once that happened, it was just a matter of trying to save it. And again, a pretty good job, all things considered, for how big this wreck initially could have been. Brian Hennings made some contact there, and boy, he almost collected Nathan Harper. But he was still able to hold on. Nice piece of driving there from Guest. And again, tough break for Ken McCullough Jr., but I did see him still out on track here, so maybe the damage wasn't as bad as it initially looked. That would be good news for Ken McCullough Jr. if that was the case, as he would still be competitive in this one. And by the way, 7th caution of the night, so it's been a little messy, but first time back in the next gens in a while, so to a degree, you almost kind of expected it. Now, this is the car, at least from what we know of right now, that will be used for the PGR 500, so everybody getting good practice for it. 54, Freddie Boz, or excuse me, Alec Martinez, though, will take over the lead here. He's up 35 positions from where he started this race at. Kyler Wins in second. He's up 32 positions from where he started. Then you've got Ben Bafford back in third, Malik Ray in fourth, Garrett Maines in fifth, John Ward in sixth, John Ellis Jr. back in seventh, Nick Seipel eighth, Matt Lee ninth, and Mike Davenport rounding out your top 10. So, you know, 17 laps to go. Like I said, everybody's going to be good to go on fuel now. So this is where maybe, as much as it seems like, I don't know if they could do this, this is where you got to dial it up a little bit. Now it is starting to become more important to have that track position, not so much because it's going to be hard to get to the front, more or less that it's going to be probably a couple more cautions, and that's going to click off quite a few laps. So going to have to certainly be careful here, especially if you're, you know, middle to the back portions of this pack. You don't want to get caught up in the big one, but at the same time, got to start working your way to the front. By the way, let's hop over and take a brief look at what payouts are going to be looking like here tonight. Again, talked about it was based off of 45 drivers, but we had a whole lot more than that. So initially it was going to be 250 to win this race. 200 to second, 150 to third, 125 to fourth, 100 to fifth, and then 60 to sixth. However, again, don't forget that those payouts went up quite a bit as we had over 15 more drivers than what were stated there, what that was based off of. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was close to, if not over $300 to win this race here tonight. Again, everybody wants to kick off the quarter 3 schedule with a win, and this is the best place to do it, and certainly the best car to do it in. So these next gens, very, very tough to win races because there's just so many runs. You're fighting all the way down to the checkered flag, but the other thing that these cars can entitle is big blocks to try to counter those big moves. You can take pretty big pushes in these without too many consequences, if you will, as long as those pushes are pretty squared up. So I don't know if we'll see it just yet, but certainly as we continue to get to the closing laps of this race, those pushes will get more and more aggressive. And as they do, that's where mistakes can start to be made. Green flag is back in the air. 17 laps now to go. And that was a great restart, this time from the outside line, the 54 of Alec Martinez back on point. Remember, again, another driver who had a great weekend at the SummerSlam, impressed a lot of people, as coming in as one of the underdog picks and ultimately going the distance. But now the 7 of Malik Ray, he jumps to the bottom and he'll pick up help from the Canadian driver of Kyler Wynn. A lot of pushing on the bottom, but now we're going to see a lot of pushing in the middle because John Ellis Jr. has made his way back up, but again, their efforts are going to be brought to a halt here as we get another caution, 8th one of the night, and boy, things are starting to really get out of hand here a little bit. And again, not really sure where this one sparked. We don't have any data on it, and usually when that's the case, it's not that big of a wreck, although Brock Westmoreland has got some pretty significant damage to the front left of his Chevy Camaro. Let's see what happens here. So, well, it wasn't Brock that was initially involved. This starts somewhere down the backstretch. Question's going to be, again, where does it start? Is it in the middle or the back portions of this lead pack? I'm thinking it's going to be more towards the middle. Yeah, it is. It's exactly where it is because you see everybody scattering with the smoke. Oh, it's the 66. And then Tucker McClendon as well on the outside. Those are the two cars that kind of got stuck together right there. For Tucker McClendon here, I was trying to see who it was that he got stuck together with. Can't see from that view. Neither driver I don't think they got too much damages. By that point, they had already gotten separated. The 66 was finally able to turn that car off the 00. And, you know, we'll watch this from the blimp cam here. Should go to the chopper. This one may have been a little bit of an early jump on calling the caution. Let's see. There's a little bit of contact on both sides. I'm not really sure what happens there to the 66 to make him just, you know, dart the way he did to the right. Not sure if there was contact or... Watch the 66. There's no contact there. That's just an evasive maneuver that he's making. And I'm not sure if he didn't realize Tucker was up there, but again, that's a pretty big hit for the 66. Tucker, he's going to have to worry about suspension damage, but I mean, for Christopher Carter there, that may be more than just suspension with the hit he took. And again, I personally think that this caution may have been a little bit premature. You know, it was two guys that got into the outside wall. They weren't really wrecking yet. I mean, Graham, they both made pretty significant contact, but again, they weren't necessarily wrecked. And, you know, cautions tend to breed cautions. That's the only reason that you try not to have one if you don't have to, but race control maybe saw something that we didn't, being up there in the booth, so we'll still say good call on their end as we look at it from a couple more angles here. There's the hit, and then watch as Christopher Carter finally is able to jerk it off, and oh man, just as he jerks the car off the wall, that was a close moment as he almost collided with a couple cars that had dove to the apron to miss him. Oh my goodness. Give you two more angles of this here. First from TV1. I mean, this was already scary enough when they're pinned to the outside wall, but when he comes back down here, I'm not sure if the suspension was broke, but I don't know how he didn't collect Nathan Harper. And for Nathan Harper, I mean, what is that, his third or fourth wreck tonight that we're saying, how did he find a way to miss it? And we'll probably hop on the onboard for that in just a moment, but there's the cockpit view for Christopher Carter. Watch when, let's see, is the suspension broke? It's hard to say. It may have very well been. I think it was, but again, that could have certainly been a whole lot worse than it was. That's really been the case of all the wrecks here tonight so far. We've only had one major wreck that I don't think I've been able to say that could have been a whole lot worse than it was. And that was the wreck that happened in the Travel. Of course, took out quite a few, and now we might be getting to the point where some drivers might be starting to be in danger of potentially losing their fast repair. So It'll be, looks like 12 or 13 laps to go when we get the green, depending on if we get the one-to-go signal this time or next time. And as it stands right now, Malik Ray is currently being scored as your leader. Kyler Wynn in second. Garrett Maines back in third with Ben Bafford back in fourth. And John Ellis Jr. currently rounding out your top 5. All right, we're going to take another quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be right back at Talladega.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey is prime!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's on!
Oh, that's good.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, PGR eSports, the Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Coming to a close here tonight as it'll be 13 laps to go. Boy, the intensity just continues to ramp up as these cautions start to make it less and less laps. The drivers towards the back of the field are going to have to get to the front. But, I mean, how about the drivers' names that you have up front? Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn, Garrett Maines, John Ellis Jr., the 23, looking for an underdog win. Ben Bafford, first race. Can he make something happen? Here we go. 13 laps to go. Green flag is back in the air. Side by side as they climb the banking into turn 1, but the outside able to get a better jump this time. Looks like they are already rolling. About 3 cars tandemed up is what you've got. The 23 of Bafford pushing Kyler Wynn into the 7 of Malik Ray. Garrett Maines still leads the bottom with John Ellis Jr. Those two have relatively good chemistry. The problem is they're too busy getting split that they can't get lined up, and as of right now, they have got no momentum going down there. Looks like now they'll finally get together as Davenport was the car that tried to split him. Didn't work out for him, so now he'll fade back a couple positions. Now, if you're Malik and Kyler at this point, I almost think that you've got to be content to kind of try to take care of each other until we get closer to the finish. Again, we could see some more cautions. You never know, but Kyler's in a good spot. Malik's in a good spot. And then if you're Ben Bafford, I don't know if you're working with any of these guys, but what does he do? Does he decide to go early? Does he stick with this top until we get to the last couple laps? That is going to be the question, and in fact, that could be what decides who wins this race. Oh, caution's out. This time, we do actually have a couple of big hits. One in the wall further out back. And that's going to be, looks like, was it Brent Morton or was it Nick Seipel? It was Nick Seipel in the 75 that went around, and boy, he's got pretty heavy left front suspension damage. This is what I was talking about. Again, 9 cautions. This is only a 55-lap race, and we've already had 9 cautions. You can do the math on that, but the point I'm making is that it's just not going to have any laps left if we keep getting these cautions to try to make any moves if you're at the back. And in this case, for Nick Seipel, where does it all go wrong right here? Let's see if he's... So he's... Oh, they're 4 wide. Well, that's probably the start of it here. They are 4 wide. And then some contact that starts with the 75 in the 18. Show this from the chase view here. All right, so that is, looks like that's Blair. And then I can't tell, I think that's Wyatt Gray in the 18. So Blair and Gray get together right here, and it's just slight contact, but I think the 75's drifting up a little bit. Yeah, he certainly is. The 18 may be drifting down, but it's just the idea that they're 4 wide, and then, so when the 18 gets bumped, just gets into the 75 pretty much immediately, and then just going to be absolutely nowhere to go here for Nick Seipel. And boy, he gets tagged a couple times. Wow, that was a close call on the top of the racetrack. Couldn't tell exactly who that was either from this shot, but watching the 75 gets turned here, and then the rest of the field's all going to load in and try to, figure out a way to get around, and they just can't. At the last second, you got to make those evasive maneuvers. Sometimes getting on the brakes isn't always the answer, especially at these super speedways. Sometimes it's easier to try to shoot a gap, and there's a couple big hits, and then as he slides up right here, see who's going to sneak by. Is it Richard Elliott? It might be. Boy, Elliott may have just skimmed the outside wall in the process, but certainly avoided what would have arguably been a whole lot worse of damage that he would have sustained. And this is the zoomed in view here. And 18 did take a pretty good hit. There's the second big hit right there. Did a lot of the damage. Everybody else saved it, so I think it was mainly Seipel, at least, who took most of the damage from this wreck. Give you a couple more angles of this one here. First from the onboard view here. Seipel is watch. Just another incident where he wasn't even expecting it. And once he gets turned around here, you're not going to be able to save it. You're just kind of a passenger at that point. You hope that the damage is minimized and that you can at least drive it back to the pits, because if not, and you got to pay a tow bill, that's what can cost you more time and potentially a lap in the process. All right, so as we go back live, now going to be a restart with inside 10 laps to go, as Virgo 22 Dex says, man, this race has been awful. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, to a degree, Virgo, I can agree in the sense of it's definitely been a lot more cautions than we're used to seeing, especially after we went, 188 laps during the feature event last weekend with only 3 cautions. But I think part of that is, again, that, the next gens, it's been a little while since these drivers have hopped in these cars, and Dawson said it, very chaotic, a lot of aggression. You got to make moves constantly, and sometimes that can result in a lot of cautions. But it's going to be, I think it's going to end up being 8 laps to go when we get the green. And if that's the case, if you're Malik and Kyler, I don't even know if you mind continuing to get these cautions, because a 2-lap to go restart in these next gens is a lot easier to defend than, say, a 5 to 7 lap restart. But we'll see how things shake out here. That's for sure. By the way, next place that we head here on PGR eSports is going to be tomorrow night. McCullough Motorsports has a 100-lap race sponsored by, I think it's Mowing in Memory. That is Jared Haynes, who will be helping sponsor that event. So make sure that if you're interested in racing, check it out. And if you're interested in watching, join us back here in PGR eSports. All right, so Malik Ray here. What line does he choose if this is indeed the one to go? As the pace car crosses the line, we'll see if the lights get flipped off. And indeed they do. All right, so it's going to be an 8-lap sprint to the finish, and Malik chose the bottom. That lines him up with Matthew Baker, and that puts Kyler Wynn up top. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised here if what Malik does is he gets a little bit of an early jump so that he can actually jump up in front of Kyler Wynn. So we'll see if he decides to do that. But, I mean, for Kyler right here on the outside lane, you kind of got to wonder what's going through his head right now. And then you look at a guy like Freddie Bosnez or even, Landon Velicki. One of those two, I think, are really due for a win, and it may not have happened yet, but maybe tonight's their night. We'll see how things pan out here. If you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. We're watching the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series on PGR eSports. And I know it's been a long one. 9 cautions in. Remember, we still got to make it all the way to the white flag before this race will be official, but Nathan Harper looks like a couple of blinking issues right there on the outside line. That's not going to encourage anybody to want to push that 4-car necessarily, but we'll see what happens here as they're going to line up 2 by 2. If you're Matthew Baker here, I think you're pushing Malik, obviously, for all you're worth if he doesn't get a jump, because if you can get on that high lane and the top, I would say top 5 to 10 cars on that top groove, those are going to be the cars that you'll see make a move to try to win this race at the end. If you're too far back, it's not going to matter. You're not going to have enough time. And if, you try to make that move too early and it doesn't work out, then that could certainly go against you as well here. So still seeing a couple cars blinking in and out here. To be honest, at this point, I'm not sure if that's on my end or their end, but nonetheless, the pace car off of turn 4 will make its way down to the pits and hand the field over to Malik Ray and Kyler Wynn. Kyler's the podium champ for 2024, and Malik is looking to see if he can add another win after being crowned the SummerSlam champ just last week. Here we go. 8 laps to go, and the green flag is back in the air, and oh, look at this. They're going to pile it up out back, and we're going to bring the caution out as they are stacking them up on the restart. And this is a mess. Saw the 12 involved along with multiple others, and some of these hits, I don't even know how they hit that hard. We're not even going 60 miles an hour yet. And yet we've got some cars that I would argue they're going to need a fast repair to continue in this race. The rear end for Cody actually is completely ripped off. He's got nothing left. And so that's going to be a fast repair, I would almost think, for sure. What in the world happened here? I saw one initially dart off, and then the stacking up just got worse from there. So we'll watch it from the chopper view. That's usually the best angle to watch these checkups kind of start to form. So watch the 89 of Osronaut. Well, actually, no, it starts way back. Starts even further back than that here. See the 4 of Nathan Harper. It happens behind him. But what made these checkups so severe? So there's Trevor Osronath, a couple spots ahead. Let's see. Oh, the 34 gets looped around first. He gets into Cody, gets into Harper, and that's where the chain reaction starts. So it's actually the 73 of Ryan Baste. That's the first car that kind of gets... I don't know what happens to him here. Let's see. He just runs up on the 34 and just runs him into... And then it looks like he blinks out. I'm not sure if maybe he disconnected. I couldn't tell you what happened right there. But then once he got into the 34, that's where the checkup started to get really, really bad. And boy, Alex Hilly said it right. The servers are certainly not feeling it too much here tonight. Let's watch this right here. You're going to see the stack up. Cody gets run into. 34 gets turned. Turns Cody into the 4. And then Trevor Osronath, he gets turned as well. And then they just start piling them up. I mean, the 96 actually gets airtime. And then the rest of the field sitting here scrambling 4 and 5 wide to try to find a way to miss it. That is one of the oddest restart wrecks I think that I have ever seen. So let's see here. Watch this from the starter cam. He's saying the same thing that we all are. He waves the green flag and puts it away and immediately reaches for the caution. Says, what in the world is going on here? But that is a big mess and a whole bunch of chaos that'll now put us in a restart with maybe less than 5 to go here. Again, depending on when we get the 1 to go, this will give drivers another chance to save some more fuel, depending on if it was close for anybody. But Malik Ray still being scored as your leader, and the fact that they're coasting on the apron, I would think tells me that it's not necessarily close, but they're certainly preparing for a couple overtimes, which could very well be possible with at least what we've seen so far here tonight. So, again, 7 laps to go at the moment. And right now, Malik Ray is being scored as your leader. Kyler Wynn in 2nd. Matthew Baker 3rd. Freddie Bosnez back in 4th. Dylan Jones in 5th. Andrew Navarro 6th. Landon Velicki in 7th. Matt Lee 8th. Matthew Stolnick in 9th. And Garrett Maines currently rounds out your top 10. Well, since it looks like they're still going to have at least a lap and a half, we are going to go ahead and take another break so that I can check on some things. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega.
Have created
our own drink company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey has pride!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1,
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, getting ready for potentially the final restart of the night. Everybody can get things sorted out again. We just got done, or rather getting done, with wrapping up a caution off a restart incident. And so as that does set us up for what will be a 5-lap shootout now, it is, again, Malik Ray leading the way. Kyler wins second. Matthew Baker, Freddie Bosnez, row 2, and then Dylan Jones and Andrew Navarro in row number 3. Remember, we have got to make it all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. But if we get another caution, I would say from this point on, it should put us into overtime. And we'll have 3 green, white, checkered attempts if we were to need them. But everybody can get it cleaned up. But I'll tell you one thing, this is certainly going to be the most aggressive 5 laps that you've seen, at least so far. The most aggressive 5 laps we've seen all night, because, I mean, it's go time. You don't know what's going to happen. There is no more give. It's all take at this point from what it already was. So we're getting ready to find out who's got what it takes here tonight, but Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn certainly looking like 2 of the favorites. Matthew Baker, I know he wants to find victory lane. Still have a couple underdog picks inside this top 10 that could play upset, spoil the party here. Getting ready to find out. All right, here we go. 5 laps to go. Back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. Who is going to win it at Talladega? Good restart by Malik Ray. He's going to get clear, and he'll quickly jump up to the outside line in front of Kyler Wynn. And remember, these two working together right now and doing a great job of it. Freddie Bosnez, 3rd in line. He's trying to do a little bit of pushing. Now the 62 of Landon Veliky. Look like he's going to get shoved out of line. He's thinking about making a move. Garrett Maines deciding if he wants to follow, but they're going to quickly all funnel back into one lane as they are hugging the outside wall. The inside has fallen apart. Matthew Baker getting pushed by Dylan Jones, and they'll start to make some leeway here in just a moment. The question is, do they have enough time? And Garrett Maines, did he make a mistake? He moves down to the middle. John Ellis Jr. is going to follow. Matt Lee does the same, but they don't have enough help to make anything else work. They are 3 wide further back, almost 4 wide, as now we got 1 off. They are going to go 4 wide just briefly, 1 on the apron. They're all trying to save it, and they do. Man, that was a close moment for quite a few different drivers right there. Looks like the 11 of Kenny Reel is going to start to fall towards the back of the pack. Meanwhile, up front, how about the 42 of Navarro leading the inside and the 7 of Malik Ray leading the outside? Oh, looking for a 4th lane. Big block up top from Freddie Bosnez. Oh, my goodness. That was not a clear block to make, but he somehow made it work. I don't know if Landon Veliky would have cut him another break like that if it was the last lap, but they are still on the verge of wrecking. Out back is now they're 4 wide. Garrett Maines with Andrew Navarro, and it looks like that's Ben Baffert on the inside, and they're going to wreck. And we will get a breather just as things were getting heated up at the front. Caution is for, I believe, another incident towards the back of the field here as Joshua McCullough. Looked like that right front may not have been spinning. You wonder if that had something to do with the incident right here. Yeah, boy, that is heavy right front damage. Makes you think he may have went into the outside safer barrier here. Let's see if that was indeed the case right here. Now, he was running by himself, so it may not have been, but not sure what happened to bring out the caution here. Did he have this damage for a while? Yes, he did. So Joshua McCullough was still riding around the track, even with a wheel that basically didn't turn here. So this must have been for multiple laps. I'm not sure what happened, but I assume, I don't know if this is what brought out the caution or not here. I would assume it was. Let's watch the 05 here. There's a little bit of a stack up. And then as the 77 jumps to the outside, no issue there. Ooh. Joshua McCullough gets Jimmy Emo sideways down the track, and then to the contacts made, the damage results from there. But again, that was about a lap ago here, and the actual wreck itself, I thought we had reports was from potentially, we don't really, yeah, I'm not sure what the call that caused the caution itself was right here. It's got to be the 87 of Herbert. Yeah, sure enough here, going into turn 3, what happens? Watch 87, he's going to get sent around, spins back up the racetrack, but it's almost like he disappears. You saw all that debris that got thrown up on the racetrack, but I don't think anybody actually hit him. So if that's the case, then that's a really lucky break for the rest of the field here. This is a wild-looking one. He was blinking quite a bit, it looks like, and then they get into turn 3, just gets turned around by the 24, who, you know, in all fairness, probably wasn't really sure what was going on with the 87. Wasn't trying to turn him around, but just didn't really know maybe what was going on right there. And so Herbert could be a night ender for him as, well, now it is official. We'll head into our first overtime here of the night. It'll be a 2-lap shootout. We'll explain the rules here as things get a little bit closer, but looking inside your top 10 here, I'd like to see if we can get an interview from one of these drivers. Let's see if we've got anybody in one of the PGR channels. We can see how they're feeling here tonight. And we do have a couple drivers here. Maybe not, I don't know if we've got anybody currently sitting inside the top 10, but I'll tell you who we do have here, and that is all the way back. And that 25th position, J.R. Miller, but I think he's getting some stuff settled, so we'll go ahead and leave him alone. And back looks like we've got a lot of drivers that are getting ready for what could be the final restart, so go ahead and leave everybody alone for the moment. By the way, I know I might have said it already, but we do again appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Hope that you are having a good Thursday, and we appreciate you spending some time with us here on PGR eSports to watch the Intimidator Superspeedway Series as it nears its end here for tonight. It'll be a 2-lap shootout. Again, rules for overtime are as followed. Leader has to take the white flag for the race to be official. Otherwise, if we get a caution on that first lap, we will rack them up and try it again. If we get a wreck on that last lap, then it's whoever can make it through it, every man for himself. And we'll see, the light should go off on a pace car this time, and so that would again be the signal for 1 to go. I mean that we are getting ready to get this race back underway. Again, shout out to the size of the field that we had here tonight. Almost 60 drivers to get things started, which allowed for the payouts to be a lot higher than even what they were already on course to be, which was, again, $250 just to the winner. And the payouts went all the way back to the top 6, so I'm sure that the amount of positions that are paying out have extended. Also with the amount being paid out to some of those positions may have increased as well. And then can't forget about the $50 bonus that is being offered by Matthew Baker. And to be an eligible driver, you had to have not qualified. And so I believe at least Malik and I think even Kyler are both in the same boat and both eligible for that. So if they win this race, they'll be winning $50 on top of whatever the prize payout they already get is. All right, lights on the pace car are officially off, so that means 1 to go before we go back to green flag racing. And at this point, who's your pick? It's tough to call. I think Malik and Kyler, of course, are the favorites, but I mean, Freddie Bosnez, Landon Velicki, again, 2 drivers that I think are due for one. Matthew Stallneck, he's made his way back into the top 10. He's up 28 positions in total from where he started this race at. Has had a couple of blinking issues, though. You got to be careful again. As a driver, sometimes it doesn't feel too bad from the cockpit. The problem is when other drivers see that, they don't want to work with you, and could potentially be the case there for Stallneck, depending on if that blinking is able to recede or if it stays pretty prominent here. Now, for fuel mileage, I believe everybody should be good to go. We don't see anybody doing anything desperate here on the 1 to go lap, trying to coast on the apron, or don't hear a lot of cars that are necessarily shut off, so everybody should be good to go for these 2 laps. And if we go into another overtime, that's when we start to ask maybe some more questions on, is everybody still good to go on fuel, or do we have a couple drivers maybe starting to sweat it a little bit now, and maybe even a position that if we had to go to a third one, feel like they couldn't make it. So this whole first lap right here is going to be everybody trying to get up to speed, get set, get any runs you can get, and set yourself up for one final big push on that last lap. The good news is everybody's had a chance to cool the temps, and so now that'll mean we won't have to worry about any cycles. Everybody should be good to go to push to the finish, and that means that we are going to get one heck of a finish in the process. Pace car will make the left turn. The field goes into the hands of the 2024 Summer Slam 499 winner, Malik Ray. Can Kyler win? Make a return and see if he can capture another PGR win. Here we go. Back into the restart zone. Green flag in the air. Overtime at Talladega. And a good restart for Malik Ray. We'll see if they coordinate this again. for the 7 to jump up the racetrack here into turn 1. He'll do just that as now Kyler's going to square him up for a good push here through 1 and 2. Further back, Navarro set up a run looking 3 wide, but now a couple more moves starting to be made. The 41 jumped up, as did the 45 of Michael Guest. 3, almost 4 wide further back. 1 in the wall. John Ellis Jr. trying to save it as he comes down to cover. I think that's Kenny Real that he's able to jump in front of. A lot of disorganization in the middle and back portions of the pack. The real battle right now is up front between your leaders. Malik Ray leads the high side. Matthew Baker leads the inside. Kyler Wynn still doing the push-in up top. Matt Lee's doing the push-in down low. Can they make it all the way to the white flag to make this race official? Rolling through the tribal. Looks like they're going to do it. Yes, they will. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go at Talladega. Oh, wrecking out back. We got 2, 3 around. That's going to collect quite a few mid-pack on back, but up front, they continue to keep it clean. A lot of really aggressive pushing, though. Dylan Jones, Kenny Brady, they're gearing up for what could be a really big run if everybody can hold on here. And they're wrecking big time out back. That's why things are starting to sputter out just a little bit, but it's going to regroup as they now get one more big push. You've got a backstretch. Oh, they're going to wreck again. Wrecking big time into turn 3 right here. How many is this one going to collect? Up front, who makes it through to try to win this race? 5 cars. Malik Ray leads. Kyler Wynn. Oh, Kyler Wynn turns Malik Ray. He's going to go for a slide to the inside wall. Kyler Wynn up top. Kenny Brady looking for one more run down low. Now they're going to go 3 wide. On the inside, Alec Martinez gets turned. Kyler Wynn wins it at Talladega. Oh my goodness. What a chaotic last lap. And I'll tell you what, it certainly matched the pace of the rest of the race. Oh my goodness. And we'll have to see what transpired there coming to the finish. I thought all 3 of them had it sorted out, but clearly they did not. But for Kyler Wynn, that's a big win for him. Big momentum booster as well, as he took a brief break, but boy, you could not tell the race he ran tonight in this next gen. And so as he'll bring it around to celebrate, let's go back and look at this finish right here. See what happens. Boy, I mean, you can just count the different incidents here. From where it started to where it ends. Into turn 3, you're going to have your first wreck. Matthew Baker, Garrett Maines and company, Michael Guest, they all get turned around out back. And then you had a 3-car kind of breakaway, but Kenny Brady holds on to the draft. He starts to get a run back. And then the 0-1, Dylan Jones, he's squaring up for a move here. And actually, I think what happened there, I'll tell you what. I think what happened there is that Kenny Brady was pushing Dylan Jones, and what happened is, okay, you know what? I think I have a good idea of this whole incident that kind of transpires and what initially started it. And we could have a potential penalty coming up, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. So here's what happens. Dylan Jones, I think he's going to back off of Kyler here a little bit. He may not, but the point is, Dylan's looking for a little bit of a run, and he's going to get it here. And he's going to get it in the form of Kenny Brady, who locks on to the 0-1 now. You could push him up to Kyler, but at a certain point here, Dylan isn't really looking for the pass. And so he might have been, but I guess I should say he gets locked on to Kyler. And at this point, there's just so much push him out back that they are pushing Kyler through Malik Ray. And so that's what gets Malik Ray ultimately turned around. And then the question of what happens here, I wonder if it was a little bit of a result of that. So here we go. Coming into the tribal, Kenny Brady, he's got a good run. And then Kyler just starts turning down the tribal and he just turns into Kenny Brady and Alec Martinez, and he just cleans him out. That's not a good look for Kyler there at all on replay. And, you know, I didn't get to pay full attention to actually him coming down. I was watching the 54 on the bottom as they were coming to the checkers, but we'll watch this from the cockpit view. That's a really bad look for this 29 machine here. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Kyler just didn't think they were 3 wide. That's the only, I guess, you know, cushion that you can give him here. We'll hope that's the case, but either way, that's certainly not a good one there from your leader and your race winner, because Alec Martinez had a great shot at this one, and he got completely taken out. You know, I know he finished second, but you come down and door 2 drivers and then still win the race. That certainly doesn't put a bright smile on too many drivers' faces, especially the ones that were gearing up. And this was going to be a heck of a finish. I mean, it already was, but I mean, if they don't bump and bang doors here, this is probably a 3-wide photo finish, and instead it ends with kind of a wreck coming to the checkered. Nonetheless, for now, Kyler Wynn is being scored as your race winner. Of course, we'll let you know what official word is on that before we get to your top 3 interviews. But looking at what official results are being shown for now, Kyler Wynn is being scored as your race winner, at least based off iRacing results. Alec Martinez in 2nd. Dylan Jones finishes back in 3rd. Kenny Brady 4th. Garrett Maines in 5th. Freddie Bosnez in 6th with Landon Veliky in 7th. Looks like we had a pretty good finish from a couple of the new drivers. Finishing back in that 8th position was Dane Cruz. Rounding out the top 10 was Matt Lee and Ben Bafford. Chase Mastretta finishes back in the 11th position with Matthew Stolnick in 12th. John Ward, the captain for Hyper Motorsport, finishes in 13th. John Darnell in 14th. Zacharia Cartledge finishes in 15th. Nash Brambilla back in 16th. His PGR teammate, J.R. Miller, in 17th, with David Flanagan back in 18th. And then you have Mark Vondell and Jared Haynes rounding out your top 20. Ryan Philbrick back in 21st. Michael Guest, 22nd. Francisco Villarreal, 23rd. Andrew Navarro, 24th. Noah Rainwater in 25th. Kenny Reel in 26th. Malik Ray, 27th. Jeff Merck back in 28th. And then rounding out your top 30 is going to be Mark Math and Tucker McClendon. Joshua McCullough finishes 31st. Cody Nagels 32nd. Adam Young back in 33rd with Peyton Howell in 34th. Ryan Bass 35th. Brock Westmoreland 36th. Wyatt Gray 37th with Mike Davenport in 38th. Danny Barnes 39th. And Matthew Baker rounds out your top 40. Zach Raines 41st. John Ellis Jr. 42nd. Ken McCullough Jr. 43rd with Robert Blair in 44th. Richard Elliott 45th. Joey Galati in 46th. Christopher Carter 47th with Brian Hennings in 48th. 49th, Trevor Osronoth. And looks like that's Brent Morrison rounding out your top 50. Cody Ashley 51st. Andrew Zonto 52nd. Larry McDonald 53rd. Jimmy Emos 54th. Jonathan Herbert in 55th. Nathan Harper 56th. Mark Morton 57th. Nick Seipel in 58th. And Cole Fitzpatrick rounding out the field here tonight. He finishes in 59th. All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, so sorry for the brief delay, but we were getting official word from race control that Kyler Wynn will not be deemed the race winner. It will be moved up a position for everyone else, and did get also word that kind of the incident, at least from what Kyler had been describing, it was not intentional. He did not realize, from what I hear at least, that the 54 was down there. He thought that it was just, I believe, the one of Kenny Brady, and was trying to kind of squeeze him down there to see if he could kind of force him to go lower. That's the idea I got. Now, of course, we don't know exactly what happened without talking to him, but he did not get a top 3 finish after official race review. So your race winner goes to Alec Martinez. Second place is now Dylan Jones. Third will be Kenny Reel. Everybody else also gets moved up a spot. By the way, Kenny Reel not in the Discord, so we won't get a chance to hear from him. And so that will bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, and that is Dylan Jones. Hey, Dylan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy? Well, you get moved up a position there after the finish, and I'll tell you what, certainly some... Actually, hold on, let's make sure we got you. Dylan, you do have a copy, right? All right, well, we have him here, but we got to go ahead and adjust, so give me just a moment. All right, there we go. We got things sorted out there. So now we have a chance to actually hear from your second place finisher. So, I mean, Dylan, you get moved up a position there. Initially, you thought you had third, but the big question that everybody's wondering is, what happened there coming to the checkered flag?
Everyone was scared to make a move, so we all just decided to run into each other instead. And then come to the checkered there. I mean, I didn't know I got moved up a spot until right now. So I didn't even really look at it. I just, they were 3 wide, and I guess somebody did something somebody didn't like, and I just went for the gap to the high side when they all wrecked each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you know, in general tonight, wrecking seemed to kind of be the theme. And the reason I bring that up is because you had to have track position after a certain point to be able to put yourself in that spot at the end of the race. And with these cars and the way they drive, is the mindset different from what we saw last week in the Summer Slam? I mean, how do you adjust from that race to this week?
The mindset in these cars is insane. It is so fast-paced and so momentum, and the runs are so massive. It's completely different animal than racing any of the other NASCAR things. It's pretty crazy. Honestly, I don't like it. I'm more of a relaxed, kind of lay back and put yourself in position, but these things, you got to be going 110% from the drop of the green, or you're going to be in trouble.
Well, you did a good job here tonight, and, you know, get moved up to the second place finish. Of course, going to win a little bit more money. So before we let you head out to celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Just thank you, Austin, for putting on the broadcast tonight, and Triscaro for all he does. I don't think he had a lot of fun tonight dealing with it, but hey, this is what he chose to do.
Yeah, busy night. Everybody getting back in the next gen, but hey, you did a great job again. Congrats on that second place finish, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and now that's going to move us to your race winner here tonight. First ever win in PGR eSports for one of the underdogs, Alec Martinez. Alec, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, bud.
Well, we had a chance to talk to you after a good run last week in the Summer Slam, and man, now you've done it. You have won a PGR eSports race after official review. That's what we've heard. Got official word from race control that Kyler, even though the move was unintentional, didn't mean for it to happen, that he would not be handed the win. So top 3 all got shifted up.
Oh, shoot.
So there you go. Hey, first win. Got to ask how you're feeling right now.
Wow, I didn't expect that. I thought we got second. That's pretty dang cool. Then I'll take it, man. That's awesome. That race was pretty wild. Unfortunately, I know there's a lot of cautions with 60 cars, but overall, man, like I said, I'm kind of shocked that we got it, I guess. But yeah, no, wow, that's pretty wild, I guess. I'll take it. That's awesome. And wow, I don't even know what to say. But yeah, that finish was wild. I had enough of a run there when everybody, I think it was Malik and Kyler, got into each other, and I think I was behind Kenny. I was like, do I push him? Do I get underneath him? And I saw him stall out. And I saw Kyler stall out. So I was like, why not take it 3, get a chance to win? And yeah, I thought, oh, I got second. I thought it was close, but wow, I guess we just won at Talladega. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, how about the fact that this is only the second time that we've seen you in the series. You started with the Summer Slam, and then here you are a week later in a completely different car, and you find a way to get the job done. So, you know, what was kind of the mindset to make up all the positions that you had to go through to get to the front here by the end of this race tonight?
I tell you, man, the way the cautions were kind of falling, the way the fuel tank was, it could have been either way, really, with how much we were kind of out of fuel, or if you were going to say fuel, kind of didn't want it to turn into a Nashville, what happened in the actual Cup race, where we were kind of almost looking close on fuel. My teammates Ben Bafford, Dane Cruz, we were just trying to find a way to get track position. It seemed like track position was big. You can generate big enough runs, but especially on the restarts, if you were on the bottom, you were just kind of screwed on the bottom. But, you know, we were able to come up. I think we restarted 18th on that final restart, and to come home with top 3, I was happy, but to win is even more awesome. And appreciate Kenny racing me clean. I know Kyler, I don't know what happened with Kyler there, but Kenny could have easily doored me or blocked me, and we could all wrecked again. So But I appreciate the racing room there. And man, to win this is awesome. I love what PRG's got going on here, or PGR, excuse me, it was going on here. And this is really awesome to win in, I think, my second start. So I'm really happy about it, and love racing these next gens. When we're racing on the super speedways, it's so fun. And I hope when we were racing that everybody that was watching enjoyed it. But I hate that we were pacing a lot, but the racing was fun when we got going, and it's pretty awesome. Hope all the fans enjoyed that finish. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, before we let you head out to go celebrate your first ever win in PGR, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah. Shout out to you, Austin, for doing the broadcast, and of course everybody watching. As a broadcaster myself for V-Speed, one of my sponsors, everybody that watches, it's truly appreciated. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and again for you doing the broadcast there, Austin, and my teammates, Ben Bafford, Dane Cruz, they did an awesome job. Doing what they were doing, and I think Dane, if Kyler got DQ'd, I think Dane's going to get the 7th place bonus, so that's pretty cool for him. And yeah, shout out to the teammates, shout out to everybody here at PGR that put on these events. It's really fun. I really do enjoy it, and happy to be a part of it, man. This is awesome to win. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you again for talking to us. Again, congrats on that win, and hopefully we'll see you out here next week.
For sure. Thank you, buddy.
All right, well, that's just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. Certainly a busy race in multiple ways. We had, a lot of cautions, chaotic racing, a chaotic finish, and a new and underdog winner at that. But he won't be an underdog anymore, not after tonight, because Alec Martinez has now won his first ever PGR eSports race. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, I do apologize about some of the technical difficulties, mainly ranging with the quality and some of the lagging. Again, going to continue to try to do the best we can at fixing it, or potentially move it to a producer, something. Point is, thank you for staying patient with us. I do hope that you all enjoyed, and that will officially wrap it up. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR Esports. We'll be back next week, and until then, have a good night.